Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Time to play along with me again. Over the weekend I invested $1 US. For those of my European friends that follow my channel, that's less than €1. It's less than £1. On a reel, it's a South Bend reel, and it's called the South Bend Competitor 660. That's frozen. It's frozen. I picked it up off of a vendor's table. Told him I would give him $1 for it because I like to look at things, understand why reels break sometimes, even if they may not be repairable. And this one just kind of caught my attention. So it's a South Bend Competitor. It's a 60 size reel. It's got a 4:0 gear ratio and seems to hold a lot of line, but it doesn't turn. So let's take a look. Let's see what's going on with this reel. Let's see if it's something that can be saved or if this happens to be a mechanical breakage that just can't be repaired. Now, South Bend, as a manufacturer, is typically known for lower end reels here in the US. They typically are sold in rod and reel combinations, and those reels generally are inexpensive. So I'm seeing right away as I just pull this spool, we've got a rust issue here which says this reel has never been maintained. I see it both on the metal keys on the drag washers as well as on the rotor. Doesn't mean it can't be brought back to life, but I would say right now we're dealing with some serious rust issues. So there's always this question that comes up with the pricing on reels, componentry, nature, nurture, right? Is the failure of the reel because the components are inexpensive? Are they using steel, for example, versus stainless or brass, which would rust, right? Or is it in the care of the reels? And I like to say that the inexpensive reels, they need love too, right? All reels should be maintained and serviced on a regular basis, regardless of what the price point was that you paid. And one of the beauties of YouTube and channels like what I'm doing here is that I can show you how to do that where it doesn't cost you $15 or $20 or whatever to have a bait and tackle shop service these. So this is it's a nice reel. It's made in Taiwan. It does say it has a ball bearing. That scares me because if it's frozen, you know that it's a lower class steel ball bearing and it probably can't be restored. We'll take a look. So I've just pulled the 4 side plate screws in the handle. So here's a quick note. These handles generally are interchangeable with other brands. If nothing else, my $1 is probably paid back in that I have a spare handle if somebody brings in a reel with a broken handle. All right, let's try and take this. The side plate is sticking too. That's no surprise, I guess. I'm going to just kind of gently wedge it with a flat-bladed screwdriver. These appear to be a plastic type of a casing. I don't even want to say it's graphite, so I don't want to go too crazy in that. Yeah, we've got a mess, right? Look at this. It's a real disaster, if you will, to be a pun about it. But let's see if any of this can be moved. And if it can, then we can always scrub this up and make it operational. So this uses that old pin type of a movement on a main gear. It's not it's not innovative at all. It uses this is why the side case was sticking. The bushing is stuck on there. That doesn't help. So we'll kind of, again, gently lever this. You can bet that there's no replacement parts. Not that I'm going to lose $1 one way or another, but if there's no replacement parts, you want to make certain that you're careful in anything that you're wedging. Also, it doesn't hurt to use a penetrating oil to loosen rusted parts. It even says so right there, loosen rusted parts. I use a WD-40. There's plenty of them out there. Liquid Wrench and others in the U.S. I'm sure there's others abroad as well. I'll just throw that on there for fun. And then we're going to try and take this pin out, which holds the spool shaft. That came out. Well, we're good. So, good time to tell you, if you haven't seen a reel before, and I've never seen this reel, it doesn't hurt to take pictures. If a schematic is available, go get the schematic so that you know what the burst looks like in terms of where the pieces and parts belong. In this case, I would doubt if there's a schematic involved in this. And all of that helps you in the assembly and the disassembly. So again, sometimes I notice people will try and pry things because they don't realize there's a hidden pin or something in there. The schematics would show you that. All right, let's see if we can get the shaft out. Yeah, that's not looking too promising at the moment. So not sure where we are seized on this. Looks like we are seized in multiple places. So I'm going to try and get this backwards. We're going to try and take that off. I'll try and take the main gear. That main gear can come out. That's good. Here's your swing assembly for the rotor. All right, now we're turning, which is an encouraging part. But I suspect that that shaft is the cause of the reel being frozen at this point. I'm feeling sand. I'm feeling grit. All of that is not good. So what do we do in a low-end reel situation? What you want to try and do is maintain this. Use your oils and your greases. Just because it's an inexpensive reel does not mean that the reel should not be oiled and maintained on a regular basis. And a lot of questions always come up, what is a regular basis? So a regular basis, if you're not using it heavily, and most of the inexpensive reels are not heavily used. Most of these reels tend to be purchased as entry-level reels, and as a result they may go fishing a couple of times a year. Maybe you purchase one for a niece or nephew, or comparable, you know, an inexperienced fishing person who just wants to try it, and this is an inexpensive way to start the sport without worrying too much about the consequences if they don't take to it. I just cleaned up some dried grease on here because I'm checking the teeth. If the main gear teeth are shot, then there's no sense even going any further with this. Also notice that this bushing, just like the one on the other side, is kind of stuck to that. But my concern right now is that this shaft is probably frozen to the pinion gear. So we're going to give that a look, see what we can do here, and see if we can free that. So this is my trusty pin. This thing has been around with me forever. I'm going to put that in here, and then we're going to see if we can turn the shaft. And that's where we're getting stuck. It's there's no movement whatsoever between the pin and the pinion gear. So this is a case where we've used a steel gear, and we've used the steel shaft, and they've just kind of welded themselves together. Yeah, there's no movement there whatsoever. So this is a real disaster. It's not one that can be repaired in its current state. I'm going to try and soak. I for the dollar, it's funny, but for the dollar, I can't lose anything at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what we can do to take the additional pieces and parts off of this, which means trying to remove the rotor, which we should be able to do. And I'm afraid that the little click assembly below this here probably will not come off. That's this. It lets the spool know when you're free spooling by working with this little plastic clicker here. Lets you know when your drag is engaged. We'll try and take that star off. And I'm not having much luck even grabbing that at this point. There we go. We should be able to get that off. Okay, so we'll take that off, and we'll just continue trying our luck here. We're going to take this off. I'm going to remove the rotor is what I'm going to do, because I'm going to guess that this whole thing underneath can be soaked with the penetrating oil, and I can come back to it another day, and we can see if we can salvage that. So again, this is one of those lessons you learn. So what makes an $80 reel different from an $18 reel? It's usually in the quality of the components themselves. In this case, the components are steel. They're not a stainless, they're not a brass, they're not something that would have an anti-corrosive factor to it. What happens is this reel probably got dunked because it's so rusted. Probably got dunked in water, probably salt water, and as a result of that, the corrosion set in, And once the corrosion sets in, then there's very little you can do here. Okay, so again, what I'm seeing here is that it's frozen on the shaft here. This should be able to come out. Yep, that comes out. We've got a bearing. Interestingly enough, the bearing is turning. That's a good sight to see. And we're not going to be able to go any further on this reel because of the freeze here. So let's try something. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of WD-40 on both sides of this. Let's try one more thing. And those of you that watch my videos know that heat is not always an answer, but it's something to be tried to free rust. And we're going to go do that right now. I'm going to grab a plumber's torch. We're going to heat this pinion gear. I don't want to get too close to the frame itself because that seems to be plastic and I don't want to melt plastic. But if I can heat this pinion gear, these should be two different metals that expand at two different rates. And if that's the case, I may be able to free this up and pull it through. If not, I'll just continue to soak this for a while. And if I soak it, I got a chance, although I think that as I move along, the chances get less and less. So let's just see if there's anything we can do here to see if we can hold this. Just going to try and find my wrench to hold the gear. Oh, that's not it. Sometimes you can line one up, so there you go. That'll hold that gear in place. I'm just going to grab the flat side of this spool handle here. I'm going to try and turn this. And we're turning. Look at that, huh? I got it turning. Hey! Cheers and cheers. So what we're going to do now, and it's not going to be easy, but we're going to be able to pull this out. There we go. And I'm happy to report we're going to be able to fix this reel. How crazy is that, right? So despite everything that somebody has done along the way, we're going to be able to put this reel back into service. And, you know, it's never been a top flight reel to begin with, but the last step we'll do here, and then I'm going to go do a general cleaning off camera. But I did want to show you that if you find yourself with a reel that's declared dead, take it apart. Don't be afraid to invest the dollar or the euro or the pound and take a project on to see why the reel is failing. And you might get, you will certainly get an education, and you may get surprised to find that that you can put this back together and make it work. Okay, well that bearing's not moving that well, so I'm gonna I'm just gonna soak that in a penetrating oil. We're gonna put that off to the side. I'm going to kind of do the same with all of the rusted parts, the gears, the side plate. And I'll come back to this one in a little while and I'll pick it up from there. This one obviously has the rust on it, just a light scraping. You don't want to go crazy. We're going to assume that the shaft is still true because it did pull out. Later, after this sets for a bit and it's a little hot still, we'll use some steel wool and we'll go in and we'll try and get that down as much as we can. And then we're going to come back and properly lubricate this when all is done. But at any rate, I just wanted to show you in this one that even a real disaster, which is what this is, a reel that was uncared for and should have been cared for with basic routine maintenance, can still be brought back to life with the proper techniques and with careful understanding of how reels are assembled, and even more carefully how to disassemble them when there's something in there that's frozen or broken. So I hope this has encouraged you to not necessarily pass up a reel in a bargain bin. I hope it's piqued your curiosity a little bit about why reels fail, and I hope that in your adventures in reel repair that you find some of these that you can be proud of because you solved the problem of why the reel wasn't working, and we're able to restore it and pass it on to somebody who's just learning how to fish. A lot of folks ask, what do I do with these reels when I'm done with the videos? These low-end reels that are project reels, I typically find a young kid and just pass it along and encourage them to try fishing. So that's probably where this is destined. In the U.S. here, we have Boy Scouts and all kinds of organizations, church-related organizations and that as well. Sometimes camps and the like. So they find their homes. And for $1, I don't feel badly about passing one of those along to somebody who may have an interest in fishing. So with that, if you like this, I would ask you to like it on YouTube. If you would like to see more of these types of videos, please subscribe to my channel as I work on these things every day in my shop and try to bring you some of the more interesting cases as I work through these. Again, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.